Hi, well here we go. Lots of anticipation, lots of talk about spinal compression, lots of talk too about spinal decompression. Now remember, this is what you do yourself. Now, lots of the fitness industry is to do with exercises, as we know. Now, it's my view that too many of those exercises are done sort of willy-nilly with no real understanding why you're doing them and no real expectation of them actually working for you. Now, with the back block regime, although you do it routinely every night and get into the way of it and get into actually loving it, actually looking forward to it, you will also get into the way over time, as you become more confident, of doing it when you're in pain, to get yourself out of pain. Now, you don't do that quickly. Nothing happens quickly. It's a process of letting go, letting your spine ease apart. So you can't hit it hard. You have to coax it. So that's really, once you're more proficient. What I want you to do first off is just get not only to like it, but to get to love it. I actually say to my patients that once they're addicted to their back block, then their days of needing me are numbered, which is what we want. So, to that end, I would like you to actually find yourself a little corner of your house, a little sort of sacrosanct back corner. Not that I want you having a shrine to your back, far from it, but I do want you to have a shrine to your getting better. And I do think it's a good idea to keep a sacred space. Well, yes, I do mean a sacred space, a special space where everything's laid out. So you might have a back block, you might have a yoga mat, you have your back block there, maybe you have a couple of my books there. I like you to actually do the regime without haste. So if you can have the radio on, well and good, because I don't want you clock watching. If you're actually counting the number of reps you're doing and counting the time that you're doing, you're not getting there. You're not getting it. I want you to actually relax into it, let go, go with the flow, go into the moment. All these phrases, go into your back and feel it letting go and feel the stuff, feel what you're doing, actually doing you good. Visualizing, trying to get a sense of the spine working like a concertina coming apart, getting a sense of fluid seeping into the discs again, getting a sense when you're doing your knees rocking that you're stretching the back wall and sucking fluid in, visualizing it all the time while you're doing it. So you can't be doing that while you're counting. What I want you to do is let go, and what you'll see with me doing this now in real time, that it actually takes a while. There's no hurry, and you'll flow from one movement to the next and back again. I like you to do the back block at the end of the day. I feel that there's less haste at the end of the day. I feel that you know that from your previous lectures that you've lost 20% of your discal fluid, so you're shorter, you're more compressed, the discs are drier, and that's when you want to get the disc pulled apart again. All the lumbar discs, not just one, although there'll be one level in your back that's worse, that needs the attention more. So you'll do it without any sense of urgency, literally, preferably before you go to bed. And then I think you have a better night's sleep. You actually undulate over the mattress better when you've pulled your spine apart. So you're sort of like a caterpillar pulling out. And it's a lovely feeling of abandon and letting go. You do get that much more at the end of the day. Having said that, some people will say that they actually get a better day when they do their back block in the morning. And over time, as you become more proficient, as you feel the back block working for you, you'll do it whenever you like. It's just that I want to induct you without mishap into the best way of doing it. And I also don't want to overload you. If I say do it in the morning and do it in the evening, which you may well do eventually, if I ask you to do that initially before you've seen and felt the benefits, then I will be more likely to lose you, which I don't want. Remember, this is very simple, it's very slow, it's very quiet, and it's a process that you do really for the rest of your life. So here we go. You never sit on your back block and then lie down. You always lie down first. Nothing's hurried. And here it is. And so you draw one foot up closer to your bottom, then the other, and then to do it all perfectly, you take the hands over the head, interlace the fingers, turn the palms away, push the neck out long, and then pulling your tummy in and rolling around your back like a wheel, pushing the neck out long, you go right up till you're a straight line between shoulders, hips and knees, and then you just slide the back block under, and you always test it and see it, and where it's most comfortable is where it should be. And then you very slowly take one leg down and then the other leg down and just relax. Now you can leave the arms here, or you can take them over your head, but I actually prefer you just let go. You can just let your hands roll out. It's quite good for you to actually feel that sense of the elbows opening, especially if you've been on a computer all day. And you actually get reduced stimulation and more of a sense of letting go if you have your palms up to reduce the tactile stimulus through your fingers. And then you just let go. Let everything go heavy. Absolutely heavy. Make yourself heavy and let your legs draw out the base of your spine by pulling on the pelvis, and let your navel go. Let your groin go. Let your thighs go. Let your jaw go. Let your eyebrows go. Let everything go heavy. And get a sense of that spine pulling out. Get a sense of the very strong anterior longitudinal ligament down the front of the spine, just letting go. And you're there for as long as you want, up to a minute only. So if you want to come up earlier and that knee wants to come up, then you obey those signals and you stop. You never go longer than 1 minute, because as you know from your lectures, that your greatest velocity of fluid shift happens at the point of loading and unloading. So when it's time to come up, draw one leg up. Always hurts a little bit when it comes to this point of just lifting your bottom off the block. Now you can go right up again, because it's good to. Lovely stretch right through, and then taking the hands down very gently, slide the block away, folding down onto the floor. Hard to get the back of the waist onto the floor, and then follow on immediately into the next action of drawing one knee up and out to the side. Pull the tummy in as the other leg comes up, crossing the ankles, feet at the legs at the ankles, because that makes the legs more controllable, and then you go straight into rocking. This is very subtle. It's a sense of pumping rather than tugging, and it's a sense of drawing fluid through the back wall of the disc. But all that comes after you've got rid of the castness of being on the block. Quite often when you come off the block, the back feels held, and so you're just rocking the knees here, letting everything relax, lulling everything into a sense of letting go. So yes, you are now drawing fluid through the back wall of the disc. You're giving that hard-working part of the disc, which needs such high maintenance with all the bending we do, you're giving this part of the disc first use of all those beautiful fresh nutrients coming in as you stretch that lattice of the back wall. Remember, we know that the annulus fibrosus, the disc wall, is the toughest structure in the body, so it actually takes a lot of stretching. But even so, you're pretty well 80% of your lumbar flexion is simply achieved by straightening your lumbar hollow, your lumbar lordosis. So this is getting a lot of the stretch that you have available, and it stretches by between 50 and 90%. So it's highly stretchable, even though it's so tough. So you're letting the muscles relax. You're encouraging, I should say, the muscles to relax as you first come off the block. And you're being calm in yourself. You're not hurrying. And there's no particular time for which you do this. You simply do it for as long as it takes for the back to relax, having come off the block. I don't like you to be too prescriptive. I like you to just feel innately, intuitively, what your back needs. So when you've had enough, then you let the legs go. You keep them up there, you don't put them down. And then if you've got a bad neck, and lots of people have, you put your hands on the front of your neck to try and reduce the amount of strain that your neck feels. And I like you to get a sense of stretching at the back and shrinking at the front. So you're drawing up the pelvic floor. At the same time, you're recruiting your lower abdominal muscles so that you're reducing that pouchy underbelly below navel level. And the important thing about this exercise is to not throw the legs like this, which is far too jerky, and it's quite hard to actually bring the legs up and down at the same speed. It's hard to control those legs going down, so I like those legs to come up and down at the same rate. You never let the legs go beyond 90 degrees, so you don't put them back to the floor. Certainly not, that's a great strain. So you're going from above 90 degrees to further. Trying not to let any strain shorten and shrink the neck. Back and forth, and for every 60 seconds on the block, you do 15 of these. And you always do a second round of those 3 steps before you do the back block under your upper back. So then to come down, you always take one leg down at a time and then the other leg down and letting go. And then again to go into the second round. Feel that lovely sense of release and stretch right up through the spine from the base up, right through the armpits. I can feel that pulling through my upper arms, and that's all part of it. And now again I'm going to roll up the spine right to the base of the neck. Slide the block under. Where it's most comfortable, remember that, where it's most comfortable is where it should be. So move it around. I've been doing it for 20 years and I still move it around to find the best space. One leg down, follow it by the other leg down, and relax. Don't be tempted to do that, lifting the leg. Always keep the foot on the floor and slide the heel across the slippery carpet. One leg down, other leg down, and then letting go. Totally let go. Total sense of abandon. Remember, the greater the degree of relaxation, the greater the degree of separation. We're looking for those spinal segments to be feeling at sort of agreeable discomfort of being pulled apart. I can feel a stretch through here, I can feel in a bleary way my spine being stretched. I can visualise, I should say, that very strong anterior longitudinal ligament, which we know is the strongest in the spine. I can feel that pulling apart, pulling lengthways. I can feel the front of my hips being stretched here because I've been sitting a lot with my knees and hips bent both to a right angle, and this is opening me out, literally pulling up more the front of the disc wall, but nevertheless giving me wonderful pressure changes through those lumbar discs. And just let it go. Let the legs roll out and let gravity do all the work here. You do nothing. In fact, the more passive you are, the more I like it. Just letting go. Now, you don't want to stay too long. You don't stay past a minute. And then you gather yourself together again. You slide one leg up. Again, slide the other leg up. Taking the arms over your head, pushing your neck long, lifting up as you roll up the spine. Slide the block away and down again. Now you always feel on the block that it's more comfortable the second time, and you always do the first and second repetition on the block with the block flat. Even if you're very advanced, you always do the first go with the block flat. Now I'm going a little bit slower this time, rocking my knees. Just getting a sense of rocking the baby, totally relaxed, as if I'm trying to lull that baby to sleep. I don't want to alarm the back. I just want to ease things out again, to melt away any discomfort that residual discomfort, I should say, that persists after coming off the block. And then again, if I don't have a neck problem, I take my hands behind my head, and then rounding the low back, I bring my knees towards my chin. And I go up and down at the same speed, and I really can feel a shrinking at the front, but more importantly I can feel a stretching at the back as I'm rolling my spine like a wheel over the floor, rounding and feeling each knob, each spinous process protruding through the skin in contact with the carpet and then lifting off. So it's like each cog has its turn and being pressed into the floor as I bring my knees up towards my chin and then down again. All the time steady and slow, there's no hurry here. Lovely controlled movement, back and forth. Feeling those rusty old cogs opening, trying to get a sense of where your problem is as you roll over it. And again, I haven't been counting, and I don't really want you to. No less than 15 reverse curl-ups, more if you want to. This is the strengthening bit, and this actually helps you with your lower abdominal strength that helps support your spine and act as a more efficient retaining wall at the same time as you're strengthening the pelvic floor, because no amount of tummy strengthening will work if at the same time you don't strengthen the pelvic floor. Good, and that's enough. Again, taking the hands away. I feel a lovely stretch through my upper arms as I use my tummy to lower that heavy leg. And then straight from there I go to sitting up. Make sure that you don't roll over like a log. I like you to actually use the tummy strength that you've been so hard working in acquiring, and sit forward normally. Now we go straight into the upper back block, and you lie down backwards over it. Now it's always a matter of trial and error, finding the right position. I can feel it there in my upper back, and then I hold the back of my head with my hands, and I'm shimmying up a little bit further over the block, and then I'm lowering my head back towards the floor. And sometimes you feel as if the floor will never come. Sometimes you've got to move up a little bit more, as I'm doing now. Then you go from there into interlacing the fingers again, turning the palms away, and then, and only then, do you lower one leg, and then you lower the other leg. Now that feels one big stretch. I can particularly feel it through here. I can feel all the blood vessels, nerves, tendons pulling through my armpit and my upper arm. Fantastic stretch through here, stretching my intercostal muscles, opening my ribs. And I also feel a great stretch at the front of my rib cage, that V opening out, as if I'm giving my solar plexus a view of the heavens. Total abandon. And the interesting thing about this posture is that for all your years walking round on your two pins on this earth, you've probably never been in this position. And then when you've had enough of that, unhook the fingers, hook thumb through thumb, and then just the second important adaptation of this exercise, the angel's wings. So thumb through thumb, and then trying to keep the back of the hands in contact with the floor all the way round. Come right back to your hips. And try and arrange it so that you make the upper journey coincide with a breath in. And then when you get to the top, up to 12 o'clock again, you interlace the fingers again and enjoy that stretch. Feel it pulling the spine up and out of the pelvis. And whereas your low back, the back block under your low back is the typical anti-sitting posture. In general, anti-sitting posture, this in particular is your very valuable anti-computer working posture. Really opening out, opening the armpits, feeling that release, feeling that letting go, and just enjoy it. Now that's about long enough. What you do to let go is to actually either take the hands behind the head and lift your head up and sit forward by taking your elbows to the floor, or if you feel that's too difficult, and most people do, we'll start again. So you're just coming out of that upper back block. What you do is take the hands down at the same time as you bend that knee, and then you simply roll over like a log and come up that way. Now I like you to do always 2 at the bottom first. Always you find that the second go on the back block feels much less of a pull. That's quite normal. That's what you're looking for. So 2 at the bottom, 1 at the top, another 1 at the bottom, and another 1 at the top. Now that takes about 20 minutes. Mind not to rush. Mind that you enjoy it.